Welcome to Cottontail Junction, Montana. Population 3,826. Brock read the sign as he passed it, and relief washed over him. He wasn't that far from his destination. He had driven from Boise and was ready to get out of his truck and stretch his legs. Over 9 hours in his vehicle was enough to make every part of him stiff. As his GPS led him through the downtown area to the real estate office, he smiled to himself as he gazed at the old but well-kept brick buildings he would soon frequent in his new town. A typical Main Street layout with buildings on both sides that offered retail space. He could see a bakery, a flower shop, a bookstore, and what looked like a bar. The buildings were all 2 stories, and he assumed there might be apartments on top of the retail spaces. The buildings were old and not at all fancy. It looked like a snapshot of a moment in time from long ago. Add to the backdrop of the Tobacco Root mountain range, stretching the entire way across the horizon, and the town was breathtaking. This was definitely the right decision. He was so ready to get out of the city and escape the memories it held, and the small town feel he already had from driving through Cottontail Junction just sat well with his soul. His GPS barked out orders to turn left in 800 feet, and as he looked ahead, he could see the sign for Cottontail Junction Real Estate. Brock pulled into a parking spot on the street in front of the building and shut off his engine. He got out of the truck, taking a second to stretch his 6'4" frame before pocketing his keys and heading to the door. He walked in to see an attractive blonde who grinned widely when she saw him. "Brock Gallagher?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am, that's me." She stood up from her chair and motioned for him to have a seat in front of her. Sitting back down was the last thing he wanted to do right now, but to not do so felt rude. If his mama had taught him anything, it was never to be rude, especially to a woman. "You made good time. I wasn't expecting you for another hour. By the way, I'm Heidi Spooner, in case you hadn't already figured that out," she giggled. "I assumed. Nice to meet you in person, Heidi," Brock said. He had dealt with Heidi throughout the entire transaction to buy the ranch that brought him to her office today. He'd have recognized that high-pitched, girlish voice anywhere after the many phone calls they'd had. There was something about her that got on his nerves a little, but she had been impeccable in their business dealings and had negotiated a heck of a deal, so he chalked it up to her being too peppy, which he knew was a ridiculous reason to be annoyed by someone. "I have your file right here. We've done most of the important stuff already, and I only have a couple more things for you to sign. Did your brothers come with you?" she said, glancing out the window to her right that faced the street parking, as if his brothers were going to magically appear, and seeming quite eager at the prospect. "Just me right now, but I have a power of attorney to sign on their behalf." Heidi nodded, and he noticed a bit of disappointment in her eyes, but the smile never left her face. "Of course, not a problem." She opened her folder and took out some papers, set them in front of him, and proceeded to explain them all. Brock only half listened. He had already been over them with his attorney, so he knew what the forms said, but he let her do her spiel. "So, if all that looks good, you just sign each of these 7 places for you and your 6 brothers, and I'll give you the keys." Brock took the pen and started signing. 7 boys, wow. You must have kept your parents busy. I had a younger brother growing up and couldn't imagine 7 of him," she said. "Yep, they sure did," he said, and felt bad when he saw her smile waver a little at not being able to engage him in conversation. He knew he wasn't being overly friendly, but he was tired and didn't want to do anything to encourage any kind of female attention. He had seen that look in a woman's eyes before, when they knew he was single and sometimes even when they didn't. The one that signaled a deeper interest than he wanted. That part of his life was a closed book. He was done with romance, casual or serious. Best to keep things strictly professional.